And hello again. We are like any other Tuesday. We are here in Culture Shock, and I'm surrounded by our guests, our hosts today, and we have
Carla.
Willie?
Vianney, I'm a little sick, but
yeah, well, Vianney and Carla are both sick, and of course myself, right?
I'm going to get sick.
But yeah, we have two sick people here in the booth today. I hope I don't get infected, right? And Nathaniel is super sick. That's why, if you're wondering why you're not looking at him right now, he's not here because he's very, very sick as well. His voice was like super sore. But well, Willie and I hope we don't get sick, right? Yeah. But yeah, another week, another show. And today we have a very special show because it's a very beautiful and something that we should be aware of, right? A very beautiful day that should make us aware of what's happening around us, and that is Earth Day. Anything to comment on Earth Day?
Well, it's celebrated each 22 of April each year. And on 2020, it will be the 50th anniversary of this celebration.
Oh, so to that, so it's gonna be the 49th this year,
Yes.
and the 50th next. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I have to say that I didn't know anything about this day, but it's good that we can celebrate something like this because, just as you said, Alan, we have to be aware of these events that are happening around the world. So,
yeah, Earth Day was actually created to raise awareness on the situation of Earth and climate change and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good event. A lot of schools are taking action, are creating different activities. So, create awareness because, like you said, not a lot of people know about it.
right.
Yeah, and I think there's it should be even more important than what is today, right? Because some countries, as we will be discussing, are doing so much for the environment, right?
Yeah.
Like
And-
Mexico.
Yeah, and in Mexico, it's just like, yeah, I'll use my plastic bags and I'll keep on
What a
using.
good day.
I don't
Next-
care. That sounds like a silly thing. Being environmental is just silly and something that was invented, right? But that's why we want to talk to you about that today. So, let's start by saying that it was created to raise awareness on pollution. The founder is Gaylord Nelson. Okay, he was a U.S. senator from Wisconsin, and after the 1969 massive oil spill in Santa Barbara, California, he was shocked by what happened and how much of the fauna was dying, right, in that environment. And he saw students' movements, the anti-war movement, and how they worked, and how politicians would respond to that, and society in general would respond to that. So he said, like, hey, what if we do something like that, but for the environment, right? And the objective was to try to force environmental protection onto the national political agenda of the United States. But hopefully, it will keep on being not just the U.S. but other countries as well, the ones that that have an impact on the environment now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on April 22nd, 1970, 20 million Americans took the streets, parks, and auditoriums to demonstrate for a healthy, sustainable environment and massive coast-to-coast rallies. Case. Interesting fact, I think.
Everything happened first in America. North America.
Just like in the movies,
Just like in
right?
the movies,
The
right.
first place to be
They're
invaded.
not that wrong sometimes.
Another interesting thing to say is that these days, each year, they, of course, it's Earth Day. They celebrate Earth in general and not polluting and being aware of climate change. But every year they have a specific objective, right? And last year it was to end plastic pollution. That was in 2018. And well, I wanted to ask you, like, how many bags do you use whenever you go to the supermarket, approximately?
I don't use anymore. I don't use plastic bags anymore.
Since when?
Since like 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice.
Well, I have to
Really?
Yeah.
say that I still use plastic, unfortunately, because a lot of the things I buy are still wrapped in plastic. But like for me, I just take my bag, my green bag, and
Green
put
bag.
my groceries there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would like to stop using it completely, but like for example, pastas or like cheese are still wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
So for me, I still use it. Maybe I don't use like
But at least you
like-
don't use the extra.
you know, like the
plastic bags
extra
at the end.
plastic bags. No, I stopped about a year ago as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to like stop my use on plastic ever since I found out what plastic does to marine
Willie is
life.
laughing like.
I'm like,
"Ah,
oh my
I
god,
still use
what I'm gonna
those
say?
plastic bags." Right? You still use them.
Yeah, I use them, but I have to say that before, like 2-3 years ago, it was like just bags, right? Plastic bags, and that's it. But after all these things that, for example, we are talking right now, it's like when I'm buying a lot of things in supermarket. Of course, I have to. Sometimes I use a lot of bags, but I give them a lot of uses in my house, so
Okay.
I don't buy more and more bags.
Okay.
And sometimes what I realize is that, for example, in the supermarket, the cerillitos, when whatever you buy, whatever you buy, and it doesn't matter if it's just a juice or whatever, they want to give you a bag because
Yeah.
you give them a little bit of money. But it's not. It's important to say that the bags is not for everything. It's just
Yeah.
when it's important to use them.
What I do is I take my bag, and when I see that they're about to put my products in plastic bags, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, can you put my items here? And they do it, and then I feel good because I'm using less plastic.
You know, of
Theory,
course,
but-
I'm a lot older than you guys. But
What about you,
I've
Alan?
never been so aware until like 2.5 years ago. And that's when I said like, wow, this is just huge, the amount of plastic
Yeah.
only I use, right? So imagine if I just like pass that to other people and imagine how many times it's gonna multiply, right? So I stopped using plastic bags whenever I go to the supermarket, and that's when you're aware of that, is when you become super shocked by how much plastic people use, right?
Yeah.
When I'm standing in the with the cashiers in the Walmart or something, I can see people taking in one time they've gone, they just took like 25 bags. And of course there are people who recycle them like Willie, but are you really gonna use those 25 bags if next week you're gonna come and take another 25? The rate of the use of bags
Right.
is probably not as high as as your consumption, right? So yeah, I was shocked by seeing those things, and I see even people, you've probably seen them, and our audience can comment on that. They go for example, let's say limes or tomatoes, and they use these
Oh, yeah.
transparent bags,
Yeah.
put them there,
Yeah.
wrap them, maybe not, right? And then
And
they
another
go
one.
they go to the cashier when they pay, and another one,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
why would you even do
Yeah.
that, right? What I haven't tried, because people look at, it's been a process, right? I think in Mexico it's still a process. Whenever I pay, and for example my habaneros are not in a bag and I just put them there like that, the cashier usually looks at me like, dude, there's no bag in this. But it's like, I don't need the bag. It's just like a communication through our eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And what I want still to, like, I still want to do is, I haven't tried it, and you should try it as well. Like, take your Tupperware, for example, for
Yes.
ham, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, for ham, you could probably take your Tupperware
Yeah.
and avoid another plastic bag. That would be fun, but I don't know if they let you get
No.
inside with a Tupperware.
They're not gonna let you.
They're
know for experience.
supposed to let you, but yeah, like Willie says, I don't think not a lot of places here are willing to let you take
Right.
your own containers.
That sucks, right?
Because-
Because a lot of people, I feel like, don't understand the concept of trying to use less plastic.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
you can bring them to the restaurants. So for the leftovers,
Oh, yeah.
you can do that.
Yeah, for the restaurants, yes.
But for grocery stores here, I
I'll
don't
take mine to a
think so.
buffet and
That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, because most of the times the supermarket sells this kind of the toppers, so they're not gonna let you.
Yeah, that's
Go
that's
in
why I was telling
with
you.
your-
Unless you
with
put
your
like a label on it, like and it looks super old,
I
probably.
didn't steal it.
Yeah, but that would
Yeah.
be fun.
I
Um,
mean, I would like to say something based on what you said, that once you become aware, that's when you actually see the problem of bags. I was actually in Atlixco. I live close by, and on Saturdays and Tuesdays there's like a mercado, and it's really big. So I was there, I was eating, and next to me there was a stand selling vegetables, all kinds of vegetables. And I noticed that I was there for about 20 minutes eating. And I observed people coming, and literally like everything they bought, it was put in plastic. Lettuce, I don't know, carrots, everything, except for this one lady who actually came and they were gonna put her items in plastic bags, and she's like, no, it's fine. And then she just like, and then the guy was like, no plastic bags, and then she's like, no, it's fine. And then they just handed her lettuce. I think it was a lettuce, and then she just put it in like her own bag, and she just walked away. But I was like, that was just one person in the 20 minutes I was there. Like everyone else was using plastic
Imagine that.
Yeah.
for everything. It's just like one stand, and then next to that stand there was like more and more and more, and it's like plastic.
Yeah.
And I also noticed the waters, they sell like all types of waters from like all types of flavors, and they hand out straws like nothing. It's like straws, and then they're all over the floor. They're all like just trash
Everywhere, yeah.
and it's useless. So,
Exactly, because the straw has a lifespan of what, like
5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes,
yeah,
and
it's
that's it.
useless.
And it sucks, right? It's just hard to see and hard to realize that we're like, at least Mexico is doing nothing, right? Like, we have this campaign on social media of don't use the popote, right? But what else? Do we have anything
it.
else, right? It's hard to access this information. We were trying to look, and we will talk about that on section 3 of the program, of some things that are being done here in Mexico, right? But yeah, so last year was plastic. This year is what?
Endangered animals.
Endangered animal species, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so protection of these animal species. What?
I actually read that in Australia we have an official mammal that's gone forever. It's
Which
extinct. I forgot the name of the mammal, but it's like a little rodent. It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Like love.
Yeah. I also read that the ladybug is endangered. The ladybug.
ladybug. There's also been an euphoria about paranoia about bees being extinct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something very important when I was checking when we were doing this thing, that we think about climate change as just the rising of temperature, but it's not confined to that, right? It's so much more. It's the extinction of species, right? Is the changing habitats, the changing cultivation as well. Because if temperature is higher, you will not be able to cultivate what you used to cultivate, right? The icebergs are melting, right? And
Yeah.
they are a primordial source of clean water, fresh water to drink. And so all of that is what climate change entails, right? It's so much more than just, oh yeah, it's going to be hotter and that's it. But with that comes a lot of things. And just like with, and that's why this year is so important with the protection of species that are endangered. Because if any of those species, they would become extinct, there is so much more damage to the habitat, because other animals probably depend on what the animal did, or probably that those other animals would be the predators of that extinct animal now, and they now would become extinct. And it's just so sad to see how much damage. And I think countries like Mexico, we haven't realized that we could do so much more than just observe and hope that the other countries do their best. But yeah, that's something very important. Anything else?
I mean, as you mentioned, there's like a lot of importance in protection endangered species. But what a lot of people don't realize is that due to climate change, other species are actually thriving, and it's not good for us because there's more health problems, and it's just like, I feel like, yeah, some
Natural
animals are
disasters.
dying, but others are thriving, and it's harming us, our health, our everything.
Yeah.
In the natural disasters, for example, and the people said like, why is happening this? So why
Often now.
right now we are having a lot of natural disasters? It's obvious because
Yeah.
we are doing a lot of things that are provoking this kind of events.
It's just like when our body is not, it has something weird inside, let's say a virus or whatever. We raise our temperature, right? We try to defend ourselves with mucus, with sneezes, with many different ways of doing it, and that, I think that's what Earth is doing now, because it's becoming more and more common, all these natural disasters around the world. And also we can notice, like 13 years ago in Puebla, you wouldn't even feel this kind of hot that has been felt these past days, right? It was impossible to conceive that in Puebla it would be that hot, but
Right.
now it's happening.
in Mexico, the main city, you can see like a clear sky, clear heaven. It's impossible.
It's
So-
impossible.
Yeah.
It's so
And
dirty.
here in Puebla, it's starting to become
It's
like
coming.
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's actually in the top 10 polluted cities in Mexico.
Yep.
Monterrey is number 1, Puebla is number 7,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're 7, but it's still we shouldn't be on the list.
7
at all,
out of
right?
30, what? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
now
high.
counting the F, right? And
So,
another of the one other of the objectives of this day, this year, is going to be to encourage individuals to adopt a plant-based diet and stopping the use of pesticides and herbicides. And I think that's very hard for many people. I include myself, right? Because I'm a meat lover. But that would be very, very hard. But I don't know. I think it could be a lot of good. But yeah, that's another thing. So let's go to a break and we'll come back and keep on talking about this amazing day.
What have you heard about Mexico these days? We are the best hosts. Every year, over 23 million tourists visit Mexico, and even better, 80% of them always come back. We're green, first place in natural protected areas. Jacques Cousteau named the Sea of Cortez the aquarium of the world. Classy, 2 of the 30 best restaurants in the world are in Mexico City. And it's all happening in Mexico as we speak. Find out for yourself.
UPAEP, rumbo al 50 aniversario. Misión.
Crear corrientes de pensamiento y formar líderes que transformen a la sociedad, en la búsqueda de la verdad, integrando fe, ciencia y vida. Valores.
Junto a la verdad, el bien y la belleza, nuestra universidad sostiene como valores rectores la dignidad de la persona humana, la libertad, la solidaridad, la subsidiariedad, la congruencia, el respeto, el amor y la justicia. Visión.
Somos una comunidad universitaria fraterna, congruente, alegre y comprometida, que es referente en la conjunción del pensamiento humanista, cristiano y las ciencias, que forma integralmente líderes con alta calidad profesional y compromiso social. Contribuye a la transformación de la sociedad con propuestas pertinentes, orientadas a la consecución del bien común. Tiene presencia e influencia en los ámbitos local, regional, nacional e internacional. Centra la gestión en la persona y optimiza los recursos al servicio de la misión institucional. Líneas rectoras.
Atreverse a vivir congruentemente nuestra identidad, como ejemplo de virtud en el servicio, con respeto y amor al prójimo, para la transformación social en orden al bien común.
Privilegiar a través de la academia la formación humanista cristiana en busca de la excelencia científica y profesional, con pensamiento universal y trascendencia social.
Crear sistemas académicos de auténtica pertinencia social, a través de la docencia, investigación y extensión, para enriquecer la cultura y participar en la solución de los problemas fundamentales del país.
Involucrarse en la formación y desarrollo intercultural de la comunidad universitaria a través de ámbitos y vínculos de internacionalización.
Lograr ambientes de confianza, colaboración y servicio, dentro de una cultura de austeridad, transparencia y evaluación. UPAEP, rumbo al 50 aniversario.
And we're back for more Culture Shock. So, Earth Day. Before we keep on talking about this, let's go to listen to our Vox Populi and let's see what the students in UPAEP and the community in UPAEP think about this day. So.
Hola amigos de Culture Shock, hoy vamos a hablar sobre el Día de la Tierra. Vamos a verlo. ¿Cuándo crees que es el Día de la Tierra?
Sé que es en abril, creo que es el 3 de abril o el 6 de abril.
¿Cómo ha influenciado el cambio climático en tu vida?
Pues de una forma muy drástica, ¿no? Porque el aire cada vez está más contaminado, cada vez es más dañino respirar, o sea, básicamente en eso.
¿Cómo contribuyes a la eliminación del cambio climático?
La disminución, pues tratando de usar menos el coche, cuidando más el consumo del agua, no sé, por ejemplo, lavándote las manos, solamente echas agua para enjuagarte, igual en la ducha, cierras, te enjabonas, o sea, ese tipo de cosas como que procuro cuidarlas.
Ok, gracias.
Hola, ¿cuándo crees que es el Día de la Tierra?
¿De la qué, perdón?
De la Tierra.
No sé.
¿Alguna idea?
En este mes.
¿Por qué crees que celebramos esta fecha?
Yo creo que es como para, más que reconocer, sino dar importancia del cuidado que tiene que tener el planeta Tierra, ya sea en el ámbito ecologista.
¿Cómo contribuyes a cuidar el ambiente?
Pues yo estoy como en campañas para recoger basura en la Sierra Norte de Puebla, lo que es Chignahuapan y Zacatlán.
Ok, gracias.
¿Cuándo es el Día de la Tierra?
Como te comentaba anteriormente, yo creo que el Día de la Tierra debe ser todos los días. Debemos estar conscientes que vivimos en un planeta que nos estamos acabando. Por favor, cuidémoslo. Seamos limpios, no tiremos basura, seamos amables. Somos muy peleoneros entre nosotros mismos. El Día de la Tierra es todos los días.
¿Cuál cree que es la importancia de celebrar este día?
La importancia de celebrar este día es estar conscientes de que es el único planeta que tenemos, que no se va a renovar si nosotros no hacemos todo lo posible por hacerlo. Basta de hacer guerras, basta de tirar basura, basta de no ser empáticos los unos con los otros. Debemos ser más humanos, más amables, todos los días de nuestra vida.
¿Cómo contribuye usted a la disminución del cambio climático?
Pues prácticamente hago todo lo posible. Pues no fumo, no tiro basura, procuro utilizar las cosas que llevan electricidad y todo eso en lo menor posible. Trato de ser amable siempre con mi medio ambiente, con los seres humanos, con mi gente.
Gracias.
Hola, ¿sabes cuándo es el Día de la Tierra?
Sí, es el 22 de abril.
¿Por qué crees que celebramos este día?
Porque es importante que cuidemos el medio ambiente, porque las condiciones en las que vivimos, la basura que producimos, pues está teniendo repercusiones muy fuertes en todo el mundo.
¿Me puedes decir qué es el efecto invernadero?
Sí, es... no, la neta no sé. Claro, cuando por el exceso de contaminación la capa de ozono se va como desapareciendo, se va desgastando y entonces la luz solar entra directo y entonces pegan los rayos ultravioleta, creo.
Ok, sí, gracias.
Okay, and we're back. That was such short notice. And so the community is very aware of what's happening. At least they have an idea, right?
Yeah.
Some people even do know the name, the day. Sorry.
exact
Oh, I just got so confused. But yeah, so we have all of these. There was this person that was saying that we should take care of everything we have and be conscious about it. And I think that's the point, right? To start by being conscious, but doing something,
Yeah.
not just.
It's not enough just to talk about it and be aware. If you don't know, if you do not do nothing, if you do,
You
I'm
just
sorry,
don't do anything.
I don't function anymore. Sorry, I'm sick.
If you don't do anything,
Yeah, it's not enough.
Right.
You are not going to make any impact on the planet if you do no, if you
don't do anything.
something's happening to us. Okay. It's because they're sick, so they have an excuse, right? But another person was commenting on he goes to these cleaning campaigns, right? And they pick up trash and garbage, which I think is magnificent. Just like this hashtag that became viral, right? Like pick up your trash or something.
There's a new challenge where you
it was
go
a
to like a
challenge.
river or like a
It became
street.
popular
And
at
take a
beach,
picture
right?
Yeah.
before and
and
later.
after.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very very good things that are happening. And you know, like many people tell you, like, oh, if you stop using your straw, nothing's gonna happen. Probably not, but if I do and I have an impact on someone and he or she does it and then another person does it and it goes amplifying, right? It just becomes something real and it becomes something that has actual consequences, good
Yeah.
consequences.
That's true because I actually for example, my family doesn't really believe in any of these things, and I'm like the only one, and
Yeah.
it's like so frustrating if I tell them stop using water bottles or stop using straws. But if I, for example, my mom, she's like, well, if I stop only meat, I'm not gonna do anything. And I'm like, yeah, you do, because like the person I think like uses 4 pounds or something of plastic like every day. I forgot. I'm not exactly sure like the exact amount of plastic used per day, but I mean I think it will be a difference. I think
Yeah,
it will do
sure.
a difference if you stop. It's like, yeah, just
Definitely.
one person, but I mean in this room we're 4, and if we stop using plastic altogether,
And,
at the end it's gonna
you
have
know
an effect.
something that I hate, and I have seen it when I, for example, I'm in a car and we have like a car in front of us. I have seen people that throwing
Garbage.
garbage,
yeah.
Out the
to the
window,
streets,
okay.
yeah.
Seen it too.
And that's incredible because it's like they don't care. And I don't
And if
know.
you confront these people, because you can see the videos on YouTube, there's
Yeah.
many, there's plenty of them. If you confront these people and go and say, hey, dude, you threw your garbage, please pick it up, they get all angry.
Yeah.
And they start swearing and saying all these things at you. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense, right? But that shows us the level of ignorance that we have about these things that are happening. And that at some point will affect us or the ones we love and we live in this world, right?
Yeah.
If we have children, they will be the affected ones. And it's just horrible.
We actually saw a video by Vox last Friday about climate change, why we can't understand it, why we're not doing anything, because a lot of the researchers said that we're not doing anything to prevent climate change because we can't see the effects, because we don't see them, because it's like, oh, yeah, I don't think it's happening, or, I mean, maybe I'm not even going to live it, like, it's going to happen
Yeah.
like 100 years or something, I'm going to be dead or something like that.
And feeling guilty
So,
is not enough. Like
yeah.
if you say it to someone, they're not going to believe it.
Yeah, you actually have to like, they have to see it, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, even though we are living climate change right now because of like, for example, rising temperatures, it's hot like every day, it's getting warmer every day. People are, it's not enough.
No, it's just like,
not-
oh, it's just
Yeah, it's
natural,
just
right?
Trump.
It's hotter this year.
Trump says it's not.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
he thinks it's a thing invented by the
By the
Chinese, right?
Chinese.
It's just funny to hear him say that.
Yeah.
But it's his actual opinion, right? And just like many other people who have this opinion of what global warming is
Yeah.
and climate change and all of that. But okay, so let's go to some interesting things that are happening and to these people who are actually doing something. So interesting things, guys, about Earth Day.
When in Earth Day from 2011, 28 million trees were planted in Afghanistan. That's really impressive.
So 28 million trees, depending on the kind of trees, how they're gonna grow, right? But 28 million, it's a lot.
Yeah, and this is something that we are going to talk about a little bit later, about some countries that are doing something
Yeah.
to avoid these events and all the pollution that is happening right now.
And I was seeing this video where there was a very small controlled experiment in which what was the difference of having trees and not having trees, and they were putting water on some dirt, right? And were in 2 containers, one with a lot of plants and one with just like 1 or 2. And the one where there was only like 2 plants, all the dirt would filter, right, with the water, and that was you would get all this muddy water. But in the other one where there was a lot of plants, they will filter in the water, and the water that you were getting in the container, it was very clean. So that also helps in, let's say, in floods, right? When in these intense heavy rains, these trees will absorb most of that water, and that will not affect to the close population that are living there. But if we don't have trees, of course, that water gets the highest power it can get, right? Depending on the kind of inclination they have, and it's gonna affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's something that's happening. Any other?
On Earth Day in 2012, more than 100,000 people in China rode bikes to reduce CO2 emissions and save fuel.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting because
China's really crowded.
China's very
Yeah.
crowded.
There are a lot of people, and
Yeah.
in fact, it's good that they did this kind of thing.
And there are many countries who are doing who are promoting this use of the bicycle, right? But what happens in a city like Puebla? I think the bike lanes, the lanes that we have for
They're
bikes
gonna-
are very limited.
Yeah,
are very limited, and
Yeah.
people do not respect them,
No.
and that's very sad. I try to use as much as I can my bicycle. And whenever I go to downtown, because the bike lanes start like 1 block away from my house, I can do it. But to come to Upaeb, I don't feel secure. I don't feel
No,
safe
it's not
because
safe.
there's
Just-
no bike lanes to come
Just
here.
look over here outside the main campus. It's
There's a lane
there are
supposedly,
signs
right?
For biker side, and no one respects it. No one.
no
And
one.
it's over here in front of the main campus. So
Yeah.
it's incredible how the people just don't care about it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And I've even seen people who, because they want to skip just one car in the traffic, they just go up the bike lane and to these blue things, like these plastic blue things, and they would just smash their tires against those like 3 or 4 times, and just to skip one single car. It's not like they are really cutting traffic. It's just one single car, but it happens. Another interesting thing is that, yes, it started in the 70s with this senator, but it was internationally recognized and adopted by other countries until 1990.
20 years
Fairly
later.
recent.
20 years. Yeah, so 20 years later. That sucks, right?
And well, also another one is that on the same day, but in 2009, Disney, that is one of the most important companies around the world, released a documentary film called Earth that followed the migration paths of 4 animal families.
Yeah, of course, this was to raise awareness of what was happening to these animals, how their habitats started changing, how their migration might be affected if there was a lot of what's that? I don't know what's happening, but we'll check. Okay, going back to our topic. Now let's talk about international people who are having an impact on this day, right? That they are activists, people who are very passionate about this topic, and then they are working very hard to make other people around them and in the whole earth aware of what's happening. So let's start with Greta Thunberg. Who wants to talk about her?
Yes, I heard of Greta about 4 months ago through social media, actually, because she started, I think it's very cool, she started this phenomenon on high schoolers skipping school to do something for climate change.
Fridays, right?
On Fridays, every Friday, schools around the world now are taking part, and our students are skipping school because they're saying that, why are we going to school if we're not going to have a future? Why are we studying? Why are we wasting our time if there is no future due to climate change and we're not doing anything to prevent it or, to help? So
Yeah, that's something very interesting, right? Many people would be freaked out by that. Why are you going to school, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you skipping school? That's not good. But truth is, they're skipping school, yes, but they're doing,
Yes, they're
something,
doing something.
not for their future jobs probably, but for the world, for the planet they're gonna live in.
Yeah, if you see beyond, it's more important. It will be more important.
Yeah.
Right?
Greta actually started on her own in the Swedish parliament. She decided to skip school just by herself, and she sat outside to make people from the government, take action and to be aware of this problem that's happening all over the world. And soon after that, there was this picture that was taken, posted on social media, and it became worldwide. And that's when more schools started to join. And now she's not alone anymore. There are hundreds and thousands of students from all over the world doing this on Fridays, just to fight for climate change and protest against.
There was a march
the
actually
government
here in
doesn't use
Puebla
it.
like 1 month ago that was based on what Greta did.
Yeah, and this is interesting, right? How these first world countries with such good economies are these people are doing that, and in countries like Mexico, we don't even have a beginning of these things, right? I was talking to my students this morning. I was telling them that Earth Day is coming up, and what are they doing to take care of the environment, and there was not even a single example of what you could do, right? And that's very sad. because that shows how aware we are of.
Well, there is an example because I love watching soccer games on TV, and this group Televisa and TV Azteca sometimes when a team score a goal, for every goal there are like 10,000 or something like that trees that they're gonna plant.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I've seen now. I remember him because I love watching this kind of sport, and yeah, I've seen it that at least they're trying to do something.
Okay, but at least my students didn't have an example of what they were doing, right? But I think these organizations at least are trying to do something, which 10,000 trees doesn't sound bad, right?
Yeah, and it is for each goal, and yeah, for each goal they try to.
Let's
to
hope
help.
they make 20 goals in a soccer match, right? That's impossible. But okay, so we gotta go to a break. It's getting pretty cool here talking about this, but we'll be back in a few minutes.
Vida de Estudiambre presenta No te quedes en tu casa.
Si disfrutas admirar la ciudad, es momento de hacerlo desde las alturas. Sí, no puedes perderte la vista panorámica desde la Estrella de Puebla. La rueda de observación, considerada la más grande de Latinoamérica por sus 80 metros de altura. La Estrella de Puebla, el sitio de tu interés.
Soy de Tabasco, tengo 21 años y estudio la licenciatura en Comercio y Estrategia Internacional en UPAEP. Practiqué baile contemporáneo y eso me formó como una persona muy apasionada y detallista. Amo la música y por eso estuve aprendiendo batería en Bellas Artes UPAEP. Mi gran inspiración es mi mamá. Es una emprendedora social y me enseñó que lo más importante es poner el corazón en lo que hago. En UPAEP lo estoy logrando porque me forman con los mismos valores que ella me inculcó. Mejorar mi entorno es uno de mis sueños y por eso estoy colaborando en 2 proyectos que promueven la vida sustentable. Estoy determinada que el impacto que deje en el mundo sea el inicio de la transformación que nuestro futuro necesita. Mi historia comienza aquí. Soy Karen y soy UPAEP.
Vida de Estudiambre presenta un espacio cultural.
Situado en el centro histórico de la ciudad de Puebla, se encuentra el Museo del Ferrocarril. Este museo fue creado en 1988 y desde entonces se dedica al rescate, conservación y difusión del patrimonio ferroviario mexicano. El museo cuenta con exposiciones que muestran la historia de líneas férreas, la infraestructura y la tecnología del ferrocarril y su vínculo con la industria. Visita el Museo del Ferrocarril y conoce la cultura ferroviaria a través de Puebla.
And we're back with the third and final section of Culture Shock. So besides Greta, which is this 16-year-old who's doing a lot for the world, not just her country, right, but for everyone. Who else? One of Carla's favorite actors, right? We're just kidding.
We have a very known person over here.
Yes.
And who is that?
Well, maybe you have heard about Leonardo DiCaprio. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. That's a possibility.
Well, he has a foundation called the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, where he protects wildlife and ecosystems and communities that are endangered around the world.
This is very interesting because he's been very passionate about that, right?
Yeah.
Whenever he has a chance, he talks about his foundation and how we should be aware of what not only he but the other people are doing. And what we should do about this topic, right? And protecting wildlife.
Yeah, because also we know that other famous people try to do something. For example, it's starving people or poor people or in Africa. And Leonardo DiCaprio is showing care about this topic, and that's really interesting.
Yeah, he actually has a documentary presented by National Geographic. That's where I actually found out about his foundation and what he did. He actually spoke in the UN. I forgot what year, but...
Yeah, I remember that video from the UN. Yeah.
In the UN where he took part in,
So there's that. There's of course people like these two that we've talked about who are doing actually something to try to help, right? But there's also countries. But we cannot start to talk about countries by themselves if we don't mention the Paris Agreement, right?
Yeah.
The Paris
Yeah.
Agreement is this agreement, this paper, this convention in which many countries signed. This it was just a moral signing, right? Because it's not obligatory or mandatory, but they signed as a showing that they care about the world in trying to reduce their CO2 emissions, which in turn will help the world supposedly. The problem is, as we said, there is no penalties for countries who don't achieve their objectives. There is no constant checking on the objectives. There is no way of making sure that these countries, there are only promises, right? Basically, they're promises, like our excess promises, but they'll never come true for some countries, and for some others it may. And we want to mention the most active countries in this Paris Agreement, right? 1 year ago, we talked about the Paris Agreement in full. We just are just now summarizing it now. But what we do want to talk about is these 5 different countries who are actually doing something, and they're working really hard on achieving their objectives from the Paris Agreement, and that they may, if they keep doing on what they do, they may reach them in a few years. So the first one is what? Morocco.
Morocco.
Yes. Morocco is just it's investing massively on renewable energy, right? This is a very active country, and it's on the way of substituting 42% of its electricity from clean sources, and it's going to happen supposedly in 2020. Next year. I hope that's going to happen. Imagine almost 50% of your electricity coming from renewable sources, not from other sources that are not renewable, like water in dams. We know that's a very good way of producing electricity, but it's not renewable, right? And that's something that could help not only Morocco if it's successful, but many other countries around the world. Another country.
The second role model is the Gambia, which is on track to reduce its emissions by 44% in 2025 compared to business as usual.
So 44% of CO2 emissions.
2025.
That's a lot for a whole country. Yeah, even if it's small, but it's still a lot. What other two are compatible?
For example, Costa Rica's president has the intention to ban fossil fuels as well.
Can you imagine the massive chaos that would bring to a country like Mexico, the U.S., if our president said, like, I'm going to ban fossil fuels? Everyone would be like,
it will be chaos.
That's insane. And it would be mass hysteria, right? It would just be insanely crazy.
Yeah.
But
India is also one of them, is trying to get 40% of its energy from non-fossil fuel by the end of this year, I think, and it will be ranked
it
higher.
Could be higher, right?
Yeah.
But they are also investing in carbon, in coal energy. Sorry, they're investing in coal energy, but they're also doing other things. If they didn't invest in coal energy, it would be even better. But I remember looking at the advances that Mexico has had. And again, it's only promises. Nothing is being done. There's no proof of something being done in the actual Paris Agreement webpage. You can see country by country what they're doing. And Mexico is just stale. Like it's just there, not doing anything.
Like a ghost.
Yeah. And Carla was asking me that she saw that the U.S. backed out of the Paris Agreement, which Trump made it very clear because they were spending millions in doing so, right? But that's not true. As we said, there's no penalty. There's not a fee if you don't do it. But people believe him, right? Another country I remember that backed out was Canada. At some point, Canada said, like, I promised this and that, but no, sorry, I'm not going to do it anymore. And the problem with these two big countries backing out of the Paris Agreement is that other countries that are smaller with smaller economies, if they see the big ones retiring and backing out, it's just like, if they don't do it, why should I, right? Yeah. Why should I do it? And that's when it becomes a problem, right? But yeah, these are some countries that are doing something, and Ethiopia, Bhutan, and the Philippines are also countries that are working really hard on reducing their CO2 emissions, which CO2 goes in everything, right? We don't normally think of this, but meat production is a CO2, a big CO2 source, because cows fart, and those farts of cows is a lot of CO2. And no, seriously, it's I know it sounds I laugh
crazy,
as well.
but it's true.
I laugh as well, but it's something that is happening, right? These farts of the cows, and they accumulate. It's a lot of CO2. So all of that is also contributing. It's not just confined to cars, right? It's the use of cars, that's CO2. Yeah. No, there's so much more. The industries, meat, food, plastic industries with their factories and CO2. So all of that is what is there. Anything else, guys?
And well, now that you are talking about the industries, it's incredible how to see nowadays that there are a lot of these big companies or industries that all the trash that they produce, all the things that they don't need anymore, everything goes to the sea.
Yeah.
And that's a real impact to water pollution, for example.
Yeah.
And we can see all this kind of stuff in the most important companies and the most important industries that produce, for example, the plastics or food, and all goes to the sea. So that's something that it's happening, and there is no one do something to avoid it.
Yeah, because even if we recycle, for example, plastic, for companies it's actually more expensive to use that recycled plastic. It's easier for them to just start using completely new plastic.
Yeah, and luckily that's true. The process of recycling may be even more expensive sometimes, and companies don't want to lose any money, even though they have millions, right?
Yeah.
But that is true, and it's just, if we could take a look, and I invite all our audience to just Google what is being done around the world. You can see right now in France, just these past weeks, people have been going out and marching and protesting their president's new policies on climate change, and they are forcing the government to change their policies because they want to be greener. And these countries that you think like they have everything, why would they care about that? Because they realize how important this is, right? And they are very passionate about this, and people have been forced, for example, in France, the use of plastic bags in supermarkets is prohibited. You cannot get a single plastic bag in a supermarket. You have to bring your own bags or buy one of the green bags there that they have. But
or they give you boxes.
Or they give you boxes. Yes, but that's something that is happening, and that will be the final thing that we'll be talking about today. How accessible is to be green in Mexico, or how easy is it to be green, right? Because that's something that we need to discuss. As we were mentioning at the beginning, there's not so much information. It's not so easy to access unless you're really looking for it, like Carla said. And Carla will talk to us about Zonas Basura Cero.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it's a bazaar that it's done every month in, now it's only in San Andrés Cholula, in the Jardín Etnobotánico Francisco Peláez. But maybe in the future they will be done in other cities, in Puebla. But basically it's like a mini bazaar where people
can trade, right?
Yeah, there are trades, there are like conferences, workshops, and there are small companies, local Mexican companies, that bring their products, ecological products, to sell. In my experience, it's really cool because you can find a lot of things that you can buy, but it's also quite expensive, so a lot of people don't like to buy it. But if you think about it, like in long term, like maybe you buy a like a bottle for your water, and in the future you will buy like 20, 30 plastic bottles, so it's more expensive in the long term.
And this is something that I was telling you guys when we were playing this, that I would like to be even more ecological, but unfortunately economy doesn't allow it, right? These organic, ecological, vegan and everything things,
it's more
they are super expensive.
Yeah.
Just look at the price. I was asking the other day because I'm always curious about those things. 5 pieces of meat. So you could just have 5 burgers from that, right? It was 175 pesos. And that's just, what? Imagine if you want to have 10 people in your house with just 1 burger each. That's going to be 350 something just from the meat.
Yeah.
So add the
Just for a meal.
bread, add for, exactly. Which some people can't afford them, and if I could, I would do it gladly, right? But it's
But in
just
Mexico,
impossible.
the economy it doesn't help us.
Exactly. But that is something that is being that I was discussing, like how easy is it for the average Mexican to access all of these products? But still, there are things that we can do, right?
Yes.
There are things that we can truly do, like not using your plastic bag and one of those cheap green bags in Aurrerao and Walmart and those stores. Just get one of those, a couple, and you'll be able to. You'll see how much it helps. Stop the use of styrofoam straws, right? Styrofoam is just horrible. I sometimes use it and I feel so guilty, but I'm on my way to try to stop using it.
And it doesn't have to be that radical. Like you can start step by step.
Exactly.
To changing.
Something that it would be super nice, but people, we're so dumb, right? In Norway, I think there was a video of a guy who showed us that, who was showing in his video, that people were protesting toothpaste having a carton box, right? And they forced these major companies, and now you cannot find a single toothpaste of any brand with a carton there. So I think that was very... I think I said Siri, right? Yeah, Siri got activated somewhere all the way, right? And
we have another project, right?
Yeah,
We
let's
have
talk about that project. What is it?
We have some other projects, and in fact, this one it's over here in the university, and I'm so happy to say that it's Hazlo Sustentable. And I'm happy to mention this because some friends are working in this project. It's a social one, and they are trying to encourage people to buy responsibly with responsible business. And also, thanks to this project, they have won important awards. And well, I know this one, that is Capital Semilla, that it's a financial support for entrepreneurs for new business. And it's important because also, as I know, they won an award in Spain. They could go to Spain to present this project, and because it's a responsible project and a social one. So it's good to mention the university
and
in this initiative.
Here,
also.
right? This is happening here. And people who might be interested in this, they could probably go ask these people what their project is, if they can be part of it. And I'm sure you'll find some very interesting information to do something, right? And, well, anything else you guys would like to comment on?
If anyone is interested, the next edition of Bazar Zona Basura Cero is on the 27th of April, this April. And Hazlo Sustentable will have their first festival on the 25th of April at Centro de Vinculación.
Another recommendation is that remember that here in UPAEP we have the U Market every Wednesday.
Yes.
But it's not just about the market being here. Also, if you plan on buying something, bring your own bags. Bring your own Tupperware. Here they won't say anything if you bring your Tupperware, right? And bring those things. Be ready if you want to buy something, because if not, they will give you bags.
It's the same thing.
It will be the same thing over and over, and it will just keep on doing the same, right? So thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, guys. It was a very, very smooth show. And we'll be back next week with more. And yeah, what will be the topic for next week?
We're on vacation next week.
Yeah, sorry, for the week after.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. Enjoy your vacation, and we'll be back in 2 weeks then. Yay. Thank you. Bye-bye.